welcome back to Geethers Customs channel. Obviously last time we got the engine in the Mini, and this time we're going to start, pushing for it forward with that, further forward. So the first thing that I need to tackle is this transmission mount over here, because obviously it didn't fit. It was the wrong one for this transmission for whatever reason. I don't really understand why, but I've got to make some adapters. So I started cutting out some little spacers out of round tube, and basically we're gonna get that mocked up, and then I'm gonna weld those onto the mount, give it some paint, and put it back on there, and we should be good. I've already got this one done. I've got another one cutting right now, so it shouldn't be too much longer. And then while the mount is out, I'm actually gonna replace the detent springs in the transmission, because I actually forgot before I put the swap in. And you have to have the mount off to actually get those springs out, and they make a big difference. So we're gonna do that. But for the moment, this one's about almost done. Get that out of there, clean them up, weld, and push on. Okay, you can see here the difference on the detent springs. The black one's a Hybrid Racing, this one's a stock one. Obviously it's a longer spring, it's got more tension. Basically it puts, it goes in these three holes here, and it essentially puts more tension on a little ball bearing that's in there that puts more tension on the shift selector, or the shift forks, so that it gives you more positive feel. So yeah, we're just swapping these out, and then also I got to pull this off so you can put these springs in, and we'll show you that. Okay, so this is the shift selector. You can see this is the top part that I was showing you. The springs are in here. Basically we got to take this off, take this apart, put these springs in, put it back together, and yeah, obviously I got to re-silicone, all that stuff, but yeah, pretty straightforward. Okay, now those detent springs are in there. You can see I got the mount all painted up. You can see those little collars on there. Everything lines up correctly, so that's good. I also decided I just threw the shocks in just for the moment, so those control arms aren't just hanging on the ground. Obviously there's a lot of adjustments need to be done. They're gonna have to come off, but for the moment it's kind of nice to see that they're in there. That's pretty cool. Also put the intermediate shaft on, put a new oil filter, changed out the two drain plugs on the engine and tranny with some magnetic ones. So yeah, looking pretty good. And then I also went and I cut these out. I got two 3x3 plates. I'm not sure what the thickness is on it, but we're just gonna say thick boys for sure. Basically what's gonna happen is I'm gonna drill 4 holes in both of those, and I'm gonna use those for reinforcement plates on the bottom right here where the cage is coming through. I'm gonna have to notch this a little bit, but essentially it's for safety, because otherwise these bolts can just rip right through the body. So we're just going to put a plate on there, do it correctly. It's gonna take some time to drill these plates out, because obviously these are hella thick, but once I get that, I can paint these, throw it on, then we can have most of the cage bolted in 100%. Like right now, I've mostly just got the rear cradles all 100% bolted in. I had to loosen up the door bars and everything because you can see I loosened that up right there because I need to get these bolts in and out so I can put those plates on. But let's drill some holes. Oh, and also one thing to note, I did loosen up the whole cradle and all the bars, basically because I was concerned that remember before the trunk didn't shut quite right, and then I realized that basically the reason the trunk didn't shut correctly is because this bottom of the trunk is actually bent, and you can't see it now because I fixed it a little bit. But this hinge right here is pushed way further in than this side. I evened them out a little bit so it sits pretty good. So now with this thing shut, you can see I've actually got even gap here and even gap there. It still might be a little bit too far down, possibly. But I mean, there is a gap all the way around and it's fairly even. So I'm okay with that. I really thought the body was tweaked, but no, it was, I guess it was the body who was tweaked. It was just tweaked right here and not the whole shell. So feeling good about that. Okay, so before I drill these plates out, because I kind of got sidetracked, I'm actually going to put the studs in the wheel hubs because I got the correct ones finally. And I really want to get the wheel hubs in there because I was looking at the Mini again and I realized there's a problem, and I'm going to show you that. So, you don't notice it at first glance, but the problem that I'm seeing is that we have a serious axle alignment issue. If you look and see where that one is and where it's got to go there, it's got to go way down here before it goes in there, which means I'm going to have a huge angle on these axles. I really want to get the hubs in here so I can like bolt the wheels on to see exactly where it's gonna sit, so I can see how far off it is, because right now I'm kind of guessing, but I think it's gonna be pretty far off. And I made some posts in some of the forums, and other guys had similar issues and they had to modify the mounts, and that's kind of where I was leaning towards already. But God, this really sucks. This fucking Minitech company is fucking garbage, and I highly recommend that nobody ever buys anything from them ever. That being said, I think most likely I'm gonna have to lengthen the brackets that are coming off of that mount on both sides, so I can drop the engine down further, and then I'm probably gonna have to modify this rear bracket in some way, shape, or form. I don't really know, but for the moment, let's get the wheel studs in, press in the hubs, then we can kind of get an idea where we're gonna be at. Okay, you can see I got the studs pressed in, got the hub pressed into the bearing, and it's bolted on. In case anybody's curious, these are Miata hubs. This is actually off an NB, which was the reason that the first set of studs that I got didn't fit, because I got them for an NA. But we got the correct studs now. This is on. We're gonna throw brake rotors on there. Then we can put the wheels on, put the nuts on, because then it'll space it correctly. Then we can kind of see where we're at. Okay, obviously I got the wheel on there. I jacked it up so that the suspension was bottomed out to like where I have adjusted right now. And this is, I mean, realistically, this is pretty close to where I'm gonna run it. I could maybe go a little bit lower, but like I think I have the front of about that height too, so I think we're pretty close. It's still too far out. I actually put the CV shaft in this side and then kind of mocked it up, kind of, you know, obviously at a little bit of an angle, not totally on there, but it's gonna bind up. Like there's no way it won't. So I don't really have a choice. I'm gonna have to lower this engine down. They just, I don't know how the fuck they ever expected this kit to work. Nothing fits, nothing works. Like this, it's terrible. It's just absolutely terrible. I mean, I guess if this was like, a quarter of the price and it was like a DIY kit, sure. But like, this is supposed to be a kit that's just ready to go, and it is not. And that is just absolute trash. So, yeah. I'm gonna have to contemplate how exactly I want to do this with the mounts. I do have those plates for the front part of the cage. They're just about dry with paint, so I might throw those on while I think about the mounts. So before I put those plates on the front, I was like, you know what? I should paint these calipers, but I should check and make sure the calipers fit first. So the caliper brackets do fit onto there. I think those calipers are gonna work. However, I realized I got the wrong rotors. These, you can see they're too far down. I think these might, I measure them, they're like 230 or something like that, which I looked it up and it looks like these are for like 90 to 93, like rear disc on NA Miatas. I need, like, this is for like the 1.6. I need them for like 1.8 because I guess those are 250. And I think, yeah, that'll clean up that gap, because like if you look with the pad, it's pretty far off. You can see, yeah, it's hanging off the edge of that rotor a lot. So we need to do something about that. So I'm gonna have to order new rotors, but that's whatever, because it's pretty obvious that these calipers are gonna work. It's just I need to get the correct diameter on the rotors. So no big deal. All right, you can see I got my my plates on there. Obviously I painted them up, got them all tight, got them on both sides. So now the front side of the cage is actually safe. It's not gonna just pull right through. So feeling good about that. Okay, so working on the mounts. I decided to extend this by 1.5 inches. Originally I was gonna do 1 inch, but I had some 1.5 inch flat stock, so I was like, honestly, even more the better. So I got these two pieces welded on. I've got to weld this on, and then I'm actually going to put another piece of metal on the backside for support, since I obviously butt welded it and extended it. Just give it a little bit more support. Plus, I didn't have, this is actually 1/4 inch plate, and I only had, I think it's like 3/16 or something like that. So I want to give it a little bit extra structure, but we're gonna weld this on, and then hopefully this is gonna work. Okay, see I got that one done. It is a hell of a lot longer than it was before now. But most important thing is the axles are definitely a lot closer. I think this is going to work. If you look, there's obviously still going to be some angle, but it's going to be a hell of a lot better. I lowered this side down, took that mount off, so you kind of see where it's going to be. I've got this other engine over here, and I'm going to do some mock-up and see if I can build a bracket out of this. I think at the moment what I might do is cut these off, extend this top piece out about 1.5 inches, and then just weld these up further. I think that's probably my best bet at the moment. Alright, so I got this side done. I ended up extending it. It wasn't quite right, so I ended up like reaming out that hole just a little bit. Got it pretty straight. So now I got the back jacked up, and I've got the bracket I ended up cutting apart because I thought it was going to fit. It did not. So I ended up cutting these ends off of this bracket, and then I ended up having to bend this plate and then re-weld them in a different spot because it just like, it wasn't even close. But now it should be okay. Just waiting for this to cool off, and then we can try and test fit it and make sure that it's gonna fit. But I'm pretty sure it is. So we're probably gonna throw some paint on it. Well, in the meantime, I did get the manifold on. I got the manifolds painted. It's just off of TSX. Got the cover painted a little oil filter heat shield thingy. Got those all on, and then I started messing with the axles. I got them stuck into the transmission. I need to figure out how I'm gonna get them into the hubs. I'm not really sure how this works. The only thing I think is that to unbolt this hub situation then and then slide it on. I don't really know how they expect you to do that. It's kind of silly because if you do that, you're gonna lose whatever toe adjustment you had, but I think that's the only way I can do it. So I guess I'm gonna take it apart. Okay, I just want to show you guys the nonsense I got going on here. So these two axles are the ones that I was provided, right? This is off of an RSX of some sorts. I can't remember exactly. So basically what the situation was, this joint was on, which one? This one. It was on this one, and then this joint was on this one. And basically what was going on is that these two axles were the same length. Well, the problem is that even with the engine lowered down, this side was a little bit too short, and this side was way too long. Like, it was to the point where I couldn't get the hub on. And I think even if the engine was raised up, it still would have had the same problem because it would have had too much axle angle. So what I've done is I swapped the inner joints because I realized that the shaft was actually longer on this one as opposed to that one. So now after swapping the joints, which the reason I had to pull this one off is because for whatever reason, this one will not fit on this shaft. These shafts are splined different. However, just so happens this RSX axle, that outer cup went right on there, and it feels normal. So now you can see with these ones collapsed, this one's longer than that one. So I think we're on the right track. I'm going to put the clamps back on and see if I'm right, see if that one fits in the car. Hopefully it does. Oh my God, guys, I'm having such a terrible time. Well, turns out everything I have done has been wrong. It will not work. And it's all because, once again, this kit is fucking garbage. I cannot stress that enough, guys. Like, don't buy this kit. Basically, what we have going on now, obviously I swapped the joints out. I have the shorter shaft on this side now. It's better. It is better. However, the problem is that right there, I can get the shock in, but it's at axle bind. It's fully binding up right there. And obviously the suspension has no travel like that. Now, interestingly enough, it has a little bit of play going down, which is interesting because that means the only way really to fix this is for the engine to go back up, which is ridiculous because, yeah, it probably would have worked with the engine location they had it, but the engine was still too high and the axles are still too long and the axle angles are still wrong. So I don't know. Realistically, the correct way to do it would be get shorter axles, like, or at least for this one, for sure. But I wouldn't even know how to go about doing that. I mean, yeah, I could go through Drive Shaft Shop or something, but I mean, I'm not trying to wait months. Like, I'm trying to get this thing done. Like, this car needs to be done next month. Like, I need to be driving it next month. So that's not an option. So I guess what I'm gonna have to do is, I suppose the only way to do it, I'm gonna have to chop these motor mounts down again and raise it up. I don't know what else to do, because it just won't work. I don't think I need to go, I don't know, I'll do some math, I'll do some thinking, but I don't think I need to go quite as far as, you know, it was originally. Maybe I can split the difference. I don't know. It's so stupid. It's unbelievable that it fits this bad. I don't know. Back to the drawing board. Okay, I had another look at it. I put this axle is back to the way it was when I got it. Like, it's the same cups, everything, same way. This one, no matter what you do, it is bound up. It does not matter. Like, you have to be exactly right. Like, right about there is about the only way. And like, there's maybe an 1/8 inch of movement with it not bound up. Like, it's totally fucked. So there's no way it's gonna work. It doesn't matter how high or low you go with the engine. However, I was thinking about it. What if I just shift the engine over? I have a little bit of room on this mount, which is I can probably chop that thing down or just drill it out, whatever I need to do, and shift it over a decent amount. At least 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch. If I can do that, that's definitely gonna make a big difference on both sides. So I think that's my plan of action. And honestly, when this rear bracket was, before I fucked with it, it was, the whole engine was sitting over a little bit. It honestly was, because it was really, really hard to get this bracket on. So it was almost like bent out like this, which clearly tells me the engine, you know, everything was sitting over too far this way, which makes sense. So I think that's my best plan of action at the moment, is try and shift everything over and then see what the axle alignment's at that point. And then if it's still fucked up, I can try swapping cups again. But at the moment, I think that's what we need to try. All right, next morning, back in here, and guys, I did it. Hell yeah. So I re-welded this mount. I haven't done the other side yet. You can see how much shorter it is, because there's like a gap between the motor mount and the actual, like, where the bracket bolts to the engine. Now there isn't. There's just like a tiny, tiny gap, and it fixed all the problems. So now it's gonna be really difficult to show you because the shock is on here, but I can get full movement up and down, and it's not binding up here. I also put this side back in. It's kind of like hanging down a little bit, and the boot kind of got popped out at a spot. But I mean, you can see, obviously, there's room. Obviously this one had, you know, too much room, but I think we're in a good spot now. It's actually where it needs to be. The engine's lowered down where it needs to be. So at this point, I literally just need to, I think what I'm gonna do is gonna take the bracket off of the cage and redo the bracket, you know, the mount for that. And then once I get that done, I can paint both brackets, and yeah, I mean, at that point, it should be fine. Should be able to leave the mounts alone at that point, hopefully. So, hell yeah. Well, guys, I've got the driver's side. The driver's side's back in there. It's painted. You can see that one's all done. The passenger side, I took it off. It's getting painted right now. But I bolted all the axles in. Everything is tight, and we've got movement. Like, it's got enough play. So I think we're good to go, as far as I can tell. I just need to wait for that to get that paint to dry, and then I can throw this back in, and should be able to, yeah, like I said, it'll be bolted in for good. Yeah, I mean, I think at the moment, this is probably a good place to stop, because there's a lot more to go, obviously, but at least I solved this problem. Like, I've been just racking my brain so hard about how I'm gonna make this work, and I'm just glad I figured it out, because I was really worried there for a second. I thought I was gonna have to get custom axles made, or I don't know, something. Like, something was gonna have to happen, but at the moment, I think we're looking pretty good. It looks like there's not going to be any axle bind. It should be okay. Obviously, won't know until I drive it, but at the moment, it seems pretty smooth. So, hell yeah. But like I said, we're going to end there. So like, subscribe, do all the things, and peace out.